If I walk through this door, there's no turning back. The thought gripped me like a vice, my heart pounding in my chest, the weight of what I was about to do pressing against my ribs. I stood frozen, one hand hovering over the doorknob, my pulse thrumming in my ears like a warning siren. This house, this sacred place. I had been here 100 times before, but tonight it felt different. Wrong, sinister. The dim hallway stretched before me like a tunnel leading straight into darkness. I should have turned around. I should have left. But my fingers tightened around the cold brass handle, a tremor running through my wrist as I forced myself to take that step. That irreversible step. The door creaked open. A wave of warmth greeted me, the scent of vanilla candles lingering in the air, Leora's scent. My stomach twisted into a knot. I wasn't supposed to be here, not like this, and certainly not with him. Ronan stood in the living room, his back turned to me, staring at the flickering fireplace. His broad shoulders were tense, his hands shoved deep into the pockets of his dark slacks. He heard me enter. I knew he did. The way his posture stiffened, the way his breath hitched for just a second too long before exhaling. Lock the door. His voice, low, measured, sent a shiver down my spine. I shouldn't have listened, but I did. The lock clicked into place behind me, sealing my fate. I swallowed hard, my fingers tightening around the strap of my purse, searching for something, anything to ground me. We shouldn't be doing this. Ronan turned slowly, his eyes meeting mine. Blue, deep, devastating. Then why are you here? My breath hitched, my chest burned. There was no right answer. 12 hours earlier, the morning sunlight streamed through the kitchen windows as I prepared breakfast, my hands moving on autopilot. The eggs sizzled in the pan, the coffee machine hummed, and in the background, the clock ticked away seconds I wasn't ready to face. Ronan was supposed to be gone, yet there he was. Sitting at my kitchen counter, stirring his coffee in slow, deliberate circles, silent, brooding. "You're up early," I murmured, keeping my eyes on the pan. "Couldn't sleep." I swallowed, flipping the eggs onto a plate. His tone was different, clipped, distracted. "Where's Leora?" A beat of silence. "She left last night." I turned to him, my pulse jumping. "Left? Where?" Ronan shrugged, bringing the cup to his lips. "Didn't say." A prickle of unease ran down my spine. That wasn't like her. Leora was meticulous, planned everything to perfection. She wouldn't just leave without saying something. Ronan must have seen the doubt in my eyes because his jaw tightened, his grip on the mug flexing. We argued. Something about the way he said it sent a chill through me. The air felt heavier now, more suffocating. Later that day, I sat in my car outside Ronan's house, my fingers wrapped tightly around my phone. I had called Leora 4 times, no answer. A pit formed in my stomach as I stared at the house, my heart thudding painfully in my chest. Something was wrong. The blinds were drawn. The driveway is empty. Ronan's car was the only one there. Maybe I should leave. Maybe I should let this go, but I couldn't. The unanswered calls, the tension in Ronan's voice, the way he had stared at his coffee this morning was like it held the answers he didn't want to face. I pushed open the car door, my breath hitching as I stepped onto the pavement. My heels clicked against the stone walkway. The front door loomed ahead. I knocked. A second passed, then another. Footsteps, slow, deliberate. Then the door swung open. Ronan stood there, shirt slightly rumpled, his eyes shadowed with something unreadable. I hesitated. "I need to talk to Leora." He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "She's not here." I swallowed. "Ronan, guys, what's going on?" For a moment he didn't answer, just looked at me, his gaze heavy, conflicted. Then, "Come inside." I shouldn't have. I knew I shouldn't have, but my feet moved before my mind could stop them. I stepped inside. The door closed behind me, sealing me in, sealing my fate. Inside, the house felt different, emptier, colder. The air carried an unnatural stillness, thick with the weight of unsaid words. The living room was dim, lit only by the soft glow of the fireplace. Leora's absence was like a phantom in the room, her throw blanket folded neatly over the armchair, her coffee mug still sitting on the table, half full, as if she had just vanished. "Ronan." My voice barely rose above a whisper. "Tell me what's going on." He turned to me slowly, his jaw flexing, his eyes darkening, and then his phone buzzed, a sharp, jarring sound that cut through the silence like a knife. I stiffened. Ronan pulled it from his pocket, glancing at the screen, and then his face changed, panic, tension. His fingers hovered over the decline button, hesitating for just a fraction of a second too long. "Who is it?" My throat went dry. Ronan looked up at me. His lips parted, then, "It's Leora." The morning after that call, the world felt different, off balance. Ronan sat at the kitchen table, staring blankly at his phone screen. The weight of the previous night lingered between us, thick and suffocating. My pulse quickened as I poured a cup of coffee, my hands trembling. "Leora didn't come back, did she?" Ronan exhaled sharply, rubbing his forehead. "No." The silence stretched, tense and unyielding. I glanced at my phone. No missed calls, no messages. Something was wrong. Ronan's fingers tapped against the table, restless, unfocused. His usual confidence had cracked, replaced by something raw, something close to fear. "She would have called," I whispered, more to myself than to him. "She didn't." His voice was low, almost hollow. My stomach clenched. I set my mug down, unease crawling up my spine. The unanswered questions hung between us, heavy like a storm cloud ready to break. Leora had always been radiant, full of life, the kind of woman who lit up a room without trying. But that night, something had been off. She had been distant, her laughter forced, her eyes clouded with something unspoken. I had caught her glancing at Ronan, something unreadable flickering between them. It had been quick, almost imperceptible. But I had seen it. I should have asked then. I should have paid closer attention. Now, sitting across from Ronan, the air between us thick with tension, I could feel it. Something had been unraveling long before Leora disappeared. Ronan pushed back from the table, running a hand through his hair. "I need to go out for a bit." I stiffened. "Go where?" His jaw clenched. "Just out." His deflection was like ice water down my spine. "You're hiding something," I murmured. His gaze snapped to mine, sharp, almost warning. My heart pounded. "Ronan!" The door slammed shut behind him. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. The pieces didn't fit. Leora left without a word. Ronan's strange behavior. The silence. Then my phone vibrated. A single message flashed on the screen. "Unknown number. You need to stop asking questions." My breath caught in my throat. My fingers trembled as I gripped the phone, my pulse hammering in my ears. Something wasn't just wrong. Something was very wrong. Ronan's absence that morning should have felt like a relief, but it didn't. Instead, it gnawed at me, leaving behind a hollow sensation in my chest. The message from the unknown number burned in my mind. "You need to stop asking questions." I stared at my phone, my fingers hovering over the screen. I wanted to call Leora. I needed answers, but something inside me, something primal, warned against it. Ronan returned that evening, his eyes shadowed, his expression unreadable. You were gone all day. His jaw flexed, had things to take care of. Silence stretched between us, thick with unsaid words. He looked different. Tired. Haunted. Then, I shouldn't have left you alone. The statement sent a sharp pulse through me. It wasn't an admission. It wasn't an apology. It was something else. I swallowed. Why? Ronan took a slow step toward me, and suddenly the air between us felt charged, tense. Because you don't know what's going on. My breath hitched. Then tell me. He hesitated, a muscle in his jaw twitched. Then, instead of answering, he reached out, his fingers brushing against mine. A jolt of electricity shot through my skin. I should have pulled away, but I didn't. 3 days earlier. Leora's voice had been softer than usual. You ever wonder what if? I frowned. What do you mean? She had taken a slow sip of her wine, staring at the city lights beyond the window. What if we had chosen differently? I had laughed then, shaking my head. That's a dangerous question. She had turned to me, something unreadable in her eyes. Maybe, but don't you ever feel like you were meant to be somewhere else? The memory faded now, replaced by the weight of Ronan's stare. He let out a slow breath, his fingers lingering just a second too long against mine. You should go. But his voice lacked conviction, and I didn't move. It started small. The way his eyes lingered, the way his fingers brushed against my wrist when he reached for something, the way silence between us became something alive. Buzzing, electric, dangerous. Every moment, every breath felt like a countdown toward something we couldn't stop. I found myself watching him too much, noticing the way his lips parted slightly when he exhaled, the way his hands flexed when he was lost in thought, the way he looked at me when he thought I wouldn't notice. It was a slow unraveling, a controlled descent, and neither of us tried to stop it. One night, the storm outside raged against the windows. Ronan sat on the couch staring at the fire, his expression unreadable. I should have gone upstairs. I should have created distance. Instead, I sat down beside him. The crackling of the flames filled the silence. The room was warm, but a chill crawled up my spine as I felt the weight of his gaze shift toward me. You're not afraid of me, he murmured. I turned to him, my pulse hammering. Should I be? A shadow of a smile ghosted his lips. Probably. The air between us thickened, the unspoken pressing against my skin like a second heartbeat. My fingers trembled against my lap. His voice was barely above a whisper. Tell me to leave. I opened my mouth. The words were right there, but they never came. He reached out, slowly, deliberately. His fingers grazed my cheek, and I sucked in a sharp breath. This was the moment, the edge of the cliff. All it would take was one step forward. I should have pulled away, but I didn't. The night was suffocatingly still. The only sound was the faint crackling of the dying fire and the rhythmic pounding of my heartbeat. Ronan hadn't moved, his gaze heavy on mine, daring me to make a choice I couldn't take back. I should have walked away, but the pull between us was stronger than logic, stronger than guilt. Ronan. My voice was barely a whisper, but the weight of it pressed between us like a confession. He exhaled sharply, his fingers flexing at his sides like he was fighting something. Fighting me. This isn't right. The words left me hollow and weak, a warning to myself more than to him. I know. His voice was rough, edged with something dark, something undeniable. Then, He moved a single step forward, and suddenly the space between us wasn't space at all. It was heat, it was tension, it was gravity pulling us closer and closer until I could feel his breath against my skin. My body betrayed me, tilting forward, caught in an invisible force field we had both ignored for too long. I should have stopped him, but I didn't. His hand brushed against my wrist, his fingertips ghosting over my pulse, feeling the rapid fire of my heartbeat beneath the skin. My breath hitched, my entire body freezing at his touch. Ronan. He didn't give me time to think, to second guess. His lips crashed into mine, and in that moment, everything shattered. The guilt, the hesitation, the fear. Nothing else existed but this. My hands found his shirt, gripping tightly as though I needed something to anchor me to reality. But reality was slipping. The past didn't matter. The future didn't exist. There was only now. He lifted me, his hands gripping my waist as my back hit the wall with a soft thud. A gasp left my lips, swallowed instantly by his mouth pressing against mine. Hungry, desperate, my fingers tangled in his hair, a silent plea, a silent surrender. Time blurred, moments lost meaning. The world outside of this room, outside of him, ceased to be real. But then, a loud bang shattered the illusion. We froze. Ronan pulled back, his chest rising and falling in ragged breaths. I turned my head slowly, my pulse still hammering in my ears. The front door, it had slammed shut. My stomach turned to ice. Ronan's gaze flickered to mine, and for the first time, I saw something other than desire in his eyes. Fear. The sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway, and then, Leora. Her name barely left my lips before she stepped into view. Her expression was unreadable at first. Wide eyes, parted lips, frozen in place. But then, her gaze landed on us. The air was ripped from my lungs. Ronan's hands were still on my waist. My lips were swollen. My body was betraying me, exposing the truth before words could. A single, sharp inhale from Leora. Then silence. Time stopped. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She didn't move. Her eyes locked onto Ronan's, searching, pleading for something I wasn't sure he could give. Tell me, this isn't what I think it is. Her voice was hollow and fragile, a thread stretched too thin. Ronan stiffened, his fingers twitching against my skin. I opened my mouth. What I was going to say I didn't even know, but before a sound could leave me, she turned and walked away. Ronan was the first to move, bolting after her. Leora, wait. The front door slammed again, this time rattling the walls. I sucked in a breath, the weight of what I'd just done crashing into me like a tidal wave. What had I done? The warmth of Ronan's touch still lingered on my skin, but it no longer felt like comfort. It felt like a scar. The moment of betrayal had come, and nothing would ever be the same again. The silence that followed was worse than any scream. Leora was gone. The sound of the front door slamming still echoed in my ears, but the real noise, the one ripping me apart, was the absence she left behind. Ronan stood motionless, his hand still hovering where she had been moments ago. His breath was ragged, his chest rising and falling in uneven waves. I couldn't move, I couldn't speak. The weight of what had just happened pinned me to the floor, suffocating, mercilessly. Then Ronan turned. His eyes, stormy, frantic, met mine. And in them, I saw something I hadn't expected. Not anger, not blame, panic. Go after her. I whispered, my voice barely a breath. Now. His lips parted, hesitation flickering across his face. Ronan. My voice cracked. Go. That snapped him out of it. He grabbed his coat and ran. The moment the door slammed shut behind him, I let out the breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. My hands trembled, my stomach twisted. I turned toward the mirror across the room, catching my reflection in the dim light. My lips were swollen. My hair was tousled. I looked exactly like what I was, a woman who had just destroyed everything. Outside, the rain had started. Leora was somewhere in the night, alone, betrayed, shattered. I imagined her running, her mind replaying the scene over and over like a horror movie she couldn't turn off. I should have followed. I should have tried to fix it, but I couldn't move. Not until my phone buzzed, a single text from Leora. I hope it was worth it. The words punched through me like a knife. The air left my lungs in a sharp gasp. I gripped the phone, my vision swimming, my body shaking. Ronan wouldn't fix this. I had destroyed something that could never be repaired. Hours passed. Ronan hadn't returned. I sat on the couch, numb, watching the shadows stretch across the room. My mind felt distant and detached, like I was floating above my own body, watching myself unravel in slow motion. Then, footsteps outside. The door creaked open. I looked up. Ronan stood there, drenched from the rain, his hands hanging limply at his sides. His face was pale, his eyes hollow, my stomach clenched. "Did you find her?" He didn't answer. I stood slowly, dread creeping up my spine. "Ronan." His voice was barely above a whisper. "She's gone." The room spun. I grabbed the edge of the table to steady myself. "What do you mean, gone?" "She left town." His voice cracked. "She's not coming back." A sharp pain shot through my chest. Leora was gone. For good, and we were the reason why. Ronan moved to the fireplace, his hands gripping the mantel so tightly his knuckles turned white. "You don't understand." His voice was raw. "She's not answering my calls. She blocked me." My throat burned. Did she say anything before she left? Ronan let out a bitter laugh. She didn't have to. The weight of everything, every moment leading to this, crushed me. The silence stretched, suffocating, unbearable. I took a step closer. "Ronan, what do we do now?" He didn't look at me, didn't move. His voice was quiet, final. "We live with it." The words settled between us, cold and irreversible. This was our reality now, and there was no undoing it. The days blurred together, a dull, endless stretch of regret and silence. Ronan and I existed in the same space, but we were ghosts, haunted, unspoken, trapped in the wreckage we had created. Every time I looked at him, I saw the same thing reflected. Loss. Leora was gone, and with her, everything that had once felt real. I tried to call her. I tried to send messages. Every attempt was met with silence, a void that swallowed my apologies whole, leaving behind nothing but guilt. Ronan wasn't the same. His usual confidence had eroded into something empty, something cold. He stayed out late, barely spoke, and barely ate. When he was home, he sat in the dark, staring at nothing. I did the same. I wanted to fix it. I wanted to undo everything. But the truth was, some things can't be fixed. One night, the weight of it all became unbearable. I found him in the living room, a bottle of whiskey half empty beside him. "We need to talk." My voice was small, but it cut through the silence like a blade. Ronan didn't look up. "About what?" I swallowed hard. "About us. About what happens now." He let out a dry laugh, hollow, bitter. "What happens now?" He turned to me, his eyes tired and dark. "We pay for what we did. That's what happens." My throat tightened. "Ronan, we can't just—" "Can't what?" His voice rose, sharp with frustration. "We can't go back. We can't make it right. She's gone, and we did that." I flinched. He wasn't wrong. The silence stretched again, heavier than before. Then finally he whispered, I don't know who I am anymore. The confession shattered something inside me. Neither did I. Weeks passed, but the weight didn't lift. Leora's absence was a wound that refused to heal, a permanent scar that we carried, visible in every strained glance, every sleepless night, every whispered regret. One day, Ronan packed a bag. I watched him, my chest tightening with every folded shirt, every zipped compartment. "You're leaving." My voice barely held steady. He nodded once. "I have to." I exhaled shakily. "Where will you go?" "I don't know." He met my gaze. "But I can't stay here." Tears burned behind my eyes, but I didn't stop him. I had no right to. The moment the door closed behind him, I felt it. Finality. Everything we had done, everything we had lost, it had finally caught up with us. And now there was nothing left. Just me, alone, living in the ruins of my own mistakes. If you've made it this far, I want to hear your thoughts. Have you ever faced a moment of regret so deep it changed everything? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that explore the raw, messy, and unforgettable moments of life. Until next time. Be careful with the choices you make, because some can never be undone.